Nina believed her life was finally complete the day she married Benson. She had grown up knowing what it meant to lack stability, to struggle quietly, and to pray for things others took for granted. So when Benson came into her life with his gentle smile and reassuring presence, she clung to him with gratitude and love. Their marriage was not built on wealth or grand promises, but on shared dreams, mutual respect, and a deep emotional connection that made them feel safe. They lived modestly, but their home was filled with laughter. Benson worked long hours, yet he always returned eager to talk about his day, to ask Nina how she was feeling, and to play with their son, Benjamin. Benjamin was the light of their lives. From the moment Nina discovered she was pregnant, she had poured her entire being into motherhood. She attended every antenatal appointment, followed every instruction carefully, and prayed endlessly for a safe delivery. When Benjamin was born, Nina felt her heart expand in a way she never thought possible. Benson was equally overwhelmed. He held the baby with trembling hands and told Nina repeatedly how grateful he was that she had given him a son. For years, Benson never once questioned Benjamin's paternity. He carried him on his shoulders, taught him how to ride a bicycle, and proudly introduced him to friends as his greatest achievement. However, happiness rarely remains unchallenged. Benson's mother had never fully accepted Nina. From the beginning, she felt Nina was not good enough for her son. She believed Benson could have married someone wealthier or more influential. Nina sensed the hostility, but chose peace over confrontation. She respected her mother-in-law, greeted her politely, and endured subtle insults with silence. As Benjamin grew older, Benson's mother began to make strange remarks. She would observe the child closely and comment on how he did not resemble Benson. She would mention how his nose, complexion, or mannerisms were different from the family's. Nina initially dismissed these comments as harmless observations, but Benson's mother did not stop. Over time, her remarks became accusations masked as concern. Eventually, she told Benson privately that doubts had been growing in her heart. She claimed she could not ignore the feeling that Benjamin might not be her biological grandchild. Benson was shocked at first and defended his wife, reminding his mother that he trusted Nina completely. But seeds of doubt, once planted, are difficult to uproot. Benson's mother persisted. She reminded him of how quickly Nina became pregnant after their wedding. She told him stories of women who deceived their husbands and passed off other men's children as their own. She insisted that a DNA test was the only way to restore peace in the family. Benson struggled internally. He loved Nina deeply, but his mother's constant pressure slowly poisoned his thoughts. Instead of communicating openly with his wife, he allowed suspicion to fester. He began observing Benjamin closely, comparing features, replaying his mother's words in his mind. Without Nina's knowledge, Benson's mother arranged a DNA test. She convinced Benson that it was better to know the truth than to live in doubt. When the results arrived, they claimed Benjamin was not biologically related to Benson. The news shattered him. Benson felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry. His entire world collapsed in an instant. Instead of questioning the process or seeking clarity, he accepted the result as absolute truth. His mother encouraged his anger, telling him he had been deceived and mocked. When Benson confronted Nina, his demeanor was cold and unfamiliar. He accused her of betrayal and deception. Nina was stunned. She tried to understand what he was saying, but the words barely made sense to her. She had never been unfaithful. Benjamin was the only child she had ever carried. Nina begged Benson to explain himself calmly, but he refused to listen. He told her about the DNA test and insisted that she had lied to him for years. Nina felt her knees weaken as she tried to process the accusation. She swore with everything in her that Benjamin was his son, but Benson had already made up his mind. The home that once echoed with laughter became suffocatingly silent. Benson began treating Nina with contempt. He avoided her, ignored her pleas, and refused to touch Benjamin. The rejection crushed Nina's spirit. She felt confused, betrayed, and deeply wounded by the man she trusted most. Despite her pain, she decided to prove her innocence. Nina insisted on doing another DNA test, this time herself. She believed the truth would restore her marriage. When the results came back, they confirmed the previous test. Benjamin was not biologically related to her either. That result destroyed Nina completely. For days, she lived in a fog of disbelief. She replayed her pregnancy, her labor, and the day she held Benjamin for the first time. Nothing made sense. She knew she had carried a child. She had felt the kicks, endured the pain, and nursed a baby. Yet science was now telling her that Benjamin was not her biological son. Instead of collapsing entirely, Nina chose to dig deeper. She returned to the hospital where she had given birth. She requested records, questioned nurses, and reviewed dates. Slowly, inconsistencies began to appear. Files were missing. Names were altered. A nurse who worked during her delivery had resigned suddenly years ago. After weeks of relentless investigation, Nina uncovered the truth she never imagined possible. Her child had been switched at birth. The realization nearly killed her. Further investigation revealed the final blow. Her biological son had not survived infancy. He had died shortly after birth due to complications. Nina's world went dark. She mourned a child she never got to hold, a life stolen from her without consent. Gathering what remained of her strength, Nina went to Benson and explained everything. She told him about the hospital, the switched babies, and her real son's death. She expected empathy, pain, or at least silence. Instead, Benson laughed. He mocked her explanation and accused her of fabricating a dramatic story to cover her infidelity. He told her she was desperate and delusional. His words cut deeper than any blade. In that moment, Nina realized she had lost not only her child, but also her husband. Broken and humiliated, Nina walked away. She left the marriage without drama or revenge. She took nothing but her dignity and the child she had raised with love. She promised herself she would never beg Benson again or try to convince him of the truth. Life went on, slowly and painfully. After Nina left Benson's house, life did not become easy. In fact, it became harder than she ever imagined. She had no husband, no family support, and a heart filled with pain that refused to heal quickly. Every night, she lay awake thinking about the child she lost without even seeing his face. The thought that her real son was dead haunted her endlessly. Benjamin remained with her. Even though she now knew he was not her biological child, her love for him did not change. She had carried him in her arms, fed him, comforted him, and watched him grow. To Nina, he was still her son. She decided that no test result would take away the years of love they shared. Nina moved to a small town far from Benson and his family. She wanted peace, and she wanted to start again where nobody knew her story. She rented a small apartment and found a simple job. The work was tiring, but it helped her survive. Many days, she returned home exhausted, yet she still made sure Benjamin ate well and felt loved. There were nights when she cried quietly so Benjamin would not hear. She blamed herself for trusting people too easily. She blamed the hospital. She blamed life. Most of all, she blamed Benson for refusing to believe her when she needed him the most. Benson, on the other hand, felt relief at first. He believed he had freed himself from betrayal. With his mother's support, he convinced himself that he had done the right thing. He told people his marriage failed because Nina was unfaithful. His mother praised him for being strong. But peace did not last long. Slowly, Benson's life began to fall apart. The joy he once felt disappeared. His work suffered, and he became bitter. Every time he saw children Benjamin's age, a strange emptiness filled his heart. Even though he denied it, part of him missed the child he once called his son. Years passed. Benjamin grew into a smart and respectful boy. He did well in school and showed strong leadership skills from a young age. Nina encouraged him to dream big, even when she herself felt broken inside. She taught him kindness, discipline, and the value of hard work. One day, a strange event changed Nina's life forever. While at work, Nina collapsed suddenly. She was rushed to the hospital. After tests were done, The doctors discovered something unusual in her blood. They asked many questions about her family history. Nina told them she grew up without knowing her real parents. She had been adopted as a baby and never knew where she truly came from. The hospital contacted a private medical organization that specialized in lost family cases. Unknown to Nina, a wealthy man had been searching for his missing daughter for many years. He had lost her shortly after birth due to a hospital mistake. He never stopped looking. When the test results came back, the truth shocked everyone. Nina was that missing daughter. Her biological father was a powerful and very rich man. For years, he had lived with regret and pain, believing his daughter was dead. When he finally met Nina, emotions overwhelmed him. He saw himself in her eyes, her strength, and her kindness. Nina was confused and scared at first. She struggled to accept that after losing her child and her marriage, life was now offering her something she never expected. Slowly, trust grew. Her father explained everything, including how his daughter had been switched at birth. Nina moved into her father's home, not for comfort, but for healing. For the first time in her life, she felt protected. Her father made sure she lacked nothing. He also accepted Benjamin as his grandson without question. Time changed Nina. With her father's support, she went back to school, learned business skills, and gained confidence. She transformed from a broken woman into a strong and successful one. When her father passed away years later, he left everything to Nina. She became extremely wealthy overnight. But wealth did not change her heart. Nina used her money to build businesses, support charities, and help women who had suffered injustice like her. She stayed humble and focused. Benjamin watched her closely and learned from her example. Benjamin grew up with discipline and purpose. He studied hard, traveled abroad, and later built his own company. Through dedication and smart decisions, he became a successful millionaire at a young age. He never forgot his mother's sacrifices. Meanwhile, Benson's life had gone in the opposite direction. He lost his job and struggled to find stable work. His mother grew old and sick, and the house became quiet. The pride that once controlled him disappeared. He began to regret his past actions, especially when he remembered how easily he pushed Nina away without listening. Years later, Benson applied for a security job at a large company, unaware of who owned it. Benjamin owned the company. Benson was hired as a security guard. He never imagined that the young, confident man who signed his employment papers was the same child he once rejected. Benjamin recognized him immediately but said nothing. Instead, he watched him closely. One day, during a company event, Benson saw Nina. She stood confidently, dressed elegantly, and surrounded by people who respected her. He could not believe his eyes. The woman he once mocked had become powerful and successful. Shame filled his heart. Later, Benjamin discovered the truth. Through private investigation and medical records, Benjamin learned that Benson was his biological father. The truth shook him deeply. He struggled with anger and confusion. The man who rejected him was the same man whose blood ran in his veins. Benjamin chose to confront the past, not with hate, but with truth. He arranged for Benson to meet Nina and explain everything. When Benson finally set his gaze on Nina, he expected anger, insults, or rejection, but Nina walked in calmly. She walked into the meeting place with confidence and grace. Her face showed no hatred, no bitterness, and no pain. It was clear that she had healed long ago. She no longer looked like the broken woman Benson remembered. She looked like someone who had found peace within herself. Benson was shocked by her calmness. Nina explained that she did not come to reopen old wounds or to argue about the past. She came because she no longer wanted to carry pain in her heart. She told him she had forgiven him completely. Not because he earned it, but because she deserved peace. The moment Benson heard those words, his heart filled with joy. He believed this forgiveness meant a second chance. He assumed that time had softened Nina's heart enough for them to rebuild their family. In his excitement, he started imagining them becoming one big happy family again, just like before everything went wrong. He smiled in relief. But life had one more lesson to teach him. Just then, the door opened. A tall, well-dressed man walked into the room with confidence. He went straight to Nina, gently kissed her cheeks, and held her hands warmly. The way he looked at her showed care, respect, and familiarity. Benson froze. His body stiffened, and his heart dropped instantly. He could not understand what he was seeing. His mind raced, and confusion filled his face. The happiness he felt seconds earlier vanished completely. Nina remained calm. She gently explained that rebuilding a family with Benson would not be possible. She told him she had moved on with her life and was now seeing someone else. She made it clear that forgiveness did not mean returning to the past. That chapter had closed long ago. The truth hit Benson like a heavy blow. Everything around him began to spin. His legs weakened, his breathing became unstable, and before he could react, his body gave up. Benson collapsed to the ground and fainted. Nina stood there quietly. There was no anger in her heart, no satisfaction, only calm acceptance. She had forgiven him, released the pain, and chosen her own happiness. For the first time, Benson truly understood that forgiveness does not always come with reunion. Sometimes, forgiveness simply means letting go. And Nina had finally done just that. After Benson fainted in front of Nina, everything became serious very fast. People around rushed to him. Someone called for help immediately. Benson lay on the floor, unconscious, his face pale from shock. The man who had walked in with Nina stayed calm and helped clear space. Nina stood still for a moment, then slowly stepped back. Her heart was not racing. She felt no fear, no panic. Benjamin arrived shortly after. When Benjamin saw Benson on the floor, he did not hesitate. No matter what happened in the past, Benson was still his biological father. Benjamin took charge quickly. He arranged for a car and rushed Benson to the hospital. Nina did not go with them. She returned home quietly. At home, Nina sat on her couch, thinking deeply. She knew she had forgiven Benson, but forgiveness did not bring back love. Her heart felt empty toward him. She felt no pull, no worry, no desire to run to the hospital. That was when she understood something clearly. Forgiveness does not always mean care. She slept peacefully that night. At the hospital, doctors checked Benson and confirmed that he fainted only because of shock. His heart was fine. His body was weak, but his life was not in danger. When he woke up, Benjamin was sitting beside him. Benjamin explained everything calmly. He explained how Nina had moved on, how she was now seeing someone else, and how she had forgiven Benson but closed the door to the past. Benson listened quietly. He did not argue. He did not cry. He only nodded slowly. Later that day, Benson asked to see Nina. Benjamin passed the message to Nina, but Nina refused to come. Instead, she sent a simple response through Benjamin. She wanted peace and no more confusion. Benson understood. When he finally spoke again, he told Benjamin to tell Nina that he accepted her decision. He said he was happy she found someone and that he would no longer disturb her life. And for a while, life truly became peaceful. Weeks passed. Nina's birthday arrived. Benjamin decided to make it special. He planned a small celebration at home. Nothing loud, nothing crowded. Just peace, love, and warmth. Nina agreed. Benjamin invited Benson. He also invited Nina's boyfriend, Cole. Cole arrived first. He was charming, polite, and well-dressed. He smiled often and spoke softly. He treated Nina with care and respect in front of everyone. Benson noticed this immediately. Even though it hurt, he said nothing. When Benson arrived, the mood stayed calm. Benjamin welcomed him. Nina greeted him politely. There was no tension, no anger, just distance. Cole behaved respectfully and even showed kindness to Benson. They ate together. They laughed lightly. They shared memories. For that night, everything felt normal. Benson felt peace in his heart. He believed he had finally accepted reality. He convinced himself that loving Nina from afar was enough. After the celebration, everyone went home quietly. A week later, Benson asked to meet Nina again. This time, Nina hesitated. Something in her spirit felt uneasy, but she agreed. They met in a quiet place during the day. Benson looked nervous. He told Nina that he had tried to let go, but his heart would not allow it. He told her that seeing her happy made him realize how much he still loved her. He admitted that losing her once made him foolish, but losing her twice felt unbearable. Nina's calm broke. She became angry for the first time in years. She told Benson clearly that he had no right to say those words anymore. She reminded him that he chose pride over love when she needed him. She explained that forgiveness did not give him access to her heart again. She told him she loved someone else now and wanted no more confusion. Benson apologized immediately. He said he would never bring it up again. They left separately. Nina felt disturbed. The next day, Cole invited Nina out for dinner. She agreed, hoping to clear her mind. The restaurant was quiet and classy. Soft music played in the background. Nina felt relaxed. Cole acted normal, attentive, and caring. He ordered food and made small talk. Then everything changed. Suddenly, several men stormed into the restaurant. People screamed. Chairs fell. The men looked rough and dangerous. Before Nina could react, Cole stood up. Instead of protecting her, he pointed at her. He identified her to the men. Nina froze. Her mind refused to accept what she was seeing. The men grabbed her aggressively. She struggled and cried out. People were too scared to help. The restaurant became chaotic. Cole stepped back calmly. That was when the truth became clear. Cole was not who he claimed to be. He was part of a human trafficking group. He had approached Nina on purpose. He targeted her because she was still beautiful, healthy, and wealthy. He believed some of her organs would sell for a high price. Nina was dragged out of the restaurant. Her phone fell to the ground. Nina was pushed into a van. Her hands were tied. Her mouth was covered. She cried silently as the van drove away. Inside the van, the men spoke freely. They discussed prices, locations, and timing. Nina listened in terror. Her heart pounded violently. She feared she would never see Benjamin again. Meanwhile, chaos followed behind. Someone had already called the police from the restaurant. Benjamin was contacted immediately. So was Benson. When Benson heard Nina had been kidnapped, his body moved before his mind could think. He rushed out without hesitation. Through police tracking and security cameras, the van was located in an abandoned warehouse area. The police prepared to move in. But Benson did not wait. He knew the area well from his security work. He arrived before the police fully surrounded the place. Inside the warehouse, Nina was tied to a chair. Cole stood nearby, giving instructions to the men. Nina's eyes were filled with tears, but she stayed strong. Suddenly, chaos broke out. Benson charged in unexpectedly. He fought desperately. He tackled one man. He knocked another down. His movements were reckless, but driven by pure love and guilt. Cole recognized Benson immediately. A struggle followed. The police arrived moments later. Gunshots were fired. In the confusion, Benson shielded Nina with his body. A bullet hit Benson. He collapsed. The police overpowered the traffickers. Cole tried to escape but was caught. Evidence against him was overwhelming. He was arrested on the spot. Nina screamed when she saw Benson bleeding. Benson was rushed to the hospital. Doctors worked for hours. The bullet missed his heart but caused serious injury. Nina stayed by his side this time. Weeks passed. Benson slowly recovered. During those weeks, Nina visited often. They talked. They laughed quietly. They cried. They healed together. Pain softened their hearts. Time did what pride could not. Slowly, love returned. Not the old love, but a deeper one. One built on truth, loss, forgiveness, and sacrifice. They started going out again. Carefully. Honestly. And this time, they chose each other the right way.